My name is Alison. I am 27 years old, and I live alone in a small house. My life is quiet and simple. I work from home, building websites for small companies. Most days pass without any real excitement. When I started struggling with money, I decided to rent out my spare room. It seemed like an easy solution, a little extra income, and perhaps a little less silence in the house. A man named Peter Collins sent me a message through a rental website. His profile looked clean and trustworthy. He said he was coming to town for work and needed somewhere to stay for 1 week. He paid quickly and without any trouble. Everything felt normal. I told myself this was a smart decision. He arrived on a Tuesday evening. He thanked me politely, looked around the room, and said he liked it. That night, I went to bed feeling good. I had a guest, some extra money, and the house felt a little less empty. The first 2 days were pleasant. Peter woke up early, kept to himself, and was always kind when we crossed paths. He told me he was a writer working on a new book, and that he needed peace and quiet to think. I believed him. He seemed gentle and harmless. But slowly, small things began to bother me. His phone rang often, yet he never once answered it. He would just sit there and wait for it to stop. His laptop was always shut, even when he was sitting right beside it. I told myself these were just habits. Some people are private. Some people are strange. I let it go. Then one night, just past 2 in the morning, I got up to get some water. As I passed the living room window, I glanced outside and froze. Peter was standing in the garden in the dark, completely still, staring out at the empty street. He looked like he was waiting for someone. When I asked him about it the next morning, he smiled softly and said, "I like the night air." I nodded and said nothing, but something inside me had shifted. I felt uneasy in a way I could not explain. On the 3rd day, my phone rang. The number was unknown. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. A man's voice said, "Hello, this is Peter Collins. I'm calling about the room I rented. I'll be arriving next week and just wanted to confirm the address." I stood completely still, my hand tightened around the phone. From the kitchen, I could hear the sound of movement, cups clinking, footsteps on the floor. The man already living in my house. The man I had been calling Peter for 3 days. I whispered into the phone, "You said your name is Peter Collins." The man on the other end said yes, cheerfully. Completely unaware, I ended the call without another word. My hands were trembling. The man in my house was not Peter Collins. The real Peter Collins was calling me from somewhere else, planning to arrive next week. The man eating breakfast in my kitchen was a stranger. He had used another person's identity to get inside my home. I didn't know his name. I didn't know why he was there, and I was completely alone with him. I forced myself to walk into the kitchen. I sat down at the table and tried to sound casual. "Peter," I said, "where did you say you were from again?" He looked at me slowly. "You don't remember?" I kept my voice steady. Just remind me. He leaned back in his chair and said quietly, I think you already know. He knew, he could see it in my face. I stood up, said I was tired, and walked to my bedroom. I locked the door behind me and pressed my back against it. My heart was hammering. I had to get out of the house. I opened my door slowly and moved toward the front entrance. Then his voice came from behind me, low and calm. Going somewhere, Allison. I turned around. He was standing in the middle of the living room, watching me with steady eyes. I told him I needed to go to the store. He walked toward me. You already know, don't you? You know I'm not Peter. I couldn't breathe. Who are you? I said. He smiled, and that smile made my skin crawl. I'm not here to hurt you, he said, but I need you to listen. I didn't listen. I shoved him hard. He stumbled back. On the table near the door, there was a small metal lamp. I grabbed it and swung it at him. He cried out and collapsed. I didn't look back. I threw open the front door and ran out into the street, screaming until lights came on in the neighboring houses. My neighbors called the police. Officers arrived within minutes. I told them everything, still shaking, still crying. They went inside to search the house. When they came back out, their faces were unreadable. The man was gone. His suitcase, his clothes, every single trace of him, all of it had vanished. The security cameras showed nothing. There were no fingerprints, no identification, no record of him anywhere. It was as if he had never existed. I couldn't sleep for weeks after that night. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow felt wrong. Eventually, I packed my things, moved to a new apartment across the city, and changed my phone number. I told myself it was over. I told myself I was safe. Then one evening, I came home and found a key sitting on my kitchen table, a house key. The exact shape and size of the key to my old house. My door had been locked. My windows were closed. There was no explanation for how it had gotten there. My hands were shaking as I called the police. They searched everywhere and found nothing, just like before. 2 years have passed since that night. The police searched for months, but never found him. The real Peter Collins was safe in another city, completely unaware that a stranger had used his name to enter my home. He never knew what happened. He never knew the fear that his name had carried into my life. I still see the stranger sometimes in my dreams, standing in the dark garden, watching the street. Waiting, I moved, changed my number, changed my locks, changed everything I could think to change. But that key on my table told me something I have never been able to forget. He knows where I am. He has always known, and somewhere out there in the quiet and the dark, he is still waiting. I just don't know what for.